Hey guys, welcome back and thanks for tuning in to another Random Day Rough Cut knife review. Today we're talking about the steel wheel Intrigue, regular size and mini. I first saw these knives at SHOT Show 2018, where I think that's where they were introduced. Maybe they were announced prior to that, but I didn't see it if they were. And I was impressed immediately. As you can see, it's got a nice slim profile to it. Fits nicely in pocket when it's closed. Takes up a fairly small amount of space. I would compare this to like Spyderco, Endura, and Delica as far as sort of the size and utility that you're getting with these, which is fantastic as far as size and as far as the construction as well. FRN handle scales on it. The steel is D2, so not the VG10 of those Spydercos, but still very good. Chinese made, so take that for what it's worth. But in my opinion, the construction is great. The quality on these, from my experience in using them and carrying them and looking at them and inspecting them, also very good. So I'm just generally really impressed with the steel wheel Intrigue knives. So we're going to talk about the details on them, cover pretty much everything I can think of, my experience using them and all that stuff, as well as compare them to one or two other knives throughout this video, so stick around. So it is a joint review. We're covering both the knives at the same time. Giving you a little side-by-side. Want to kind of show you what the two knives look like side-by-side, so you can decide which one is going to be better for you, either the mini or the full size. They're both great in my opinion. The weight on them both is very good. The size on either one is very good, and again, the construction, the D2 steel, etc., very good on either one. So I don't think you can really go wrong. It just comes down to your preference. Do you like to carry something a little bit larger, a little bit smaller? Go with whichever one works for you. On the other hand, they're both pretty affordable knives, so you could go with both. Again, you can see there that they come in both a gray and a black. Now, the black, or I should say the large, comes in both gray and black, and the mini comes in both gray and black. I think that there's a carbon fiber variation, an Italian-made variation coming. I can't remember off the top of my head. I feel like there was. I feel like we talked about there being one, but I can't remember right now. If there is, I'll annotate it and say whether that's true or not. But again, very interested in these knives from the moment I saw them at SHOT Show 2018. One of the sort of standout knives that I saw at the show, and there were several really good ones. Getting into a few specs on this. So the mini there has an overall length of 7.5 inches, the blade length of 3 1/4, cutting edge of about 3.125, blade width, that's here to here, of about 0.75, and blade thickness of about 0.12. Blade material, as I said before, is D2, and it's got a nice satin finish on it. The handle width is about 0.875, and that would be here. And then the thickness about 0.44. Again, FRN handle scales, stainless steel liners in there, and a weight, a very good weight, 2.19 ounces for that mini. Pocket clip on it. Giving you a close look at that. It's going to work very well. It's going to cover, or I should say it should bury about to there in your pocket. Okay, so pretty good and deep. You don't see a lanyard hole there this direction. What they have instead is this little bar. I think I can just point it out. That bar right there, you'll be able to wrap a piece of paracord or some other type of lanyard around that and turn that into your lanyard mounting place. So again, that's if you choose to have a lanyard. The pocket clip does reposition from that side to that side, but it's only tip up. You cannot reposition it to be tipped down. All right. The deployment method is flipper and flipper only. So there's no kind of thumb hole, no stud, nothing like that, just the flipper. But it is perfect. It's very fast. I don't think this is on ball bearing washers. No, it's not. It's on like a phosphor bronze. Yeah, as I'm looking at it, it's like a phosphor bronze or something like that. But it's very fast and very smooth. And lockup has been very tight as well. I'm not feeling anything, well, a slight bit side to side actually. After having used it a fair bit, I'll talk about the use that I did with it. Front to back though is perfect, so no wiggle there. The jimping on that flipper is going to be nice for grabbing your finger as you get a hold of it to flip it out. However, the slight downside to that is when it's in your pocket and your hand is kind of dragging across it, it can be a little bit on the sharp side. not going to cut you or anything, but you know, if you're doing this all day long and you have fairly tight pockets with not a lot of room, it's going to be a little uncomfortable sometimes. Okay, most of what I said there on the Mini is reflected in the full size. Again, the FRN, the D2, the stainless steel liners, etc. One thing I didn't point out yet, which is a big standout feature, aesthetically speaking, can I get that open with my left hand, are the barrel spacers in the back. Those standoffs. Red for the black and blue for the gray. Great choice of complementary colors there. They just look great, really aesthetically pleasing. I think those are anodized aluminum. I'm not positive on that, but they give a great aesthetic sort of accent to it. Love it. Obviously you can tell there that it's full flow through as far as the design is concerned, so you can blow that out, wash that out very easily without a lot of concern about getting gunk stuck up in there and not being able to clean it. Also, I can tell, I don't know if I'll be able to show on camera, that the liners themselves are milled out. There, you can just see that. The reflection in the trees. You can see those little holes there. So the liners are milled out, again, helping you to have good rigidity while also saving some weight. A couple quick specs on the large. It has an 8.5-inch overall length with a blade length of 3.75, blade thickness 0.12, D2 steel again, handle length 4.75, handle width 1 inch, handle thickness 0.47, and the weight is 2.92. So barely even 3 ounces on this guy, just barely over 2, and not even 3 on this one. So again, fantastic as far as weight is concerned, and that's why I do compare them very favorably against something like the Delica and the Endura from Spyderco, because weight-wise they are very comparable, and as far as ergonomics and just general usability they are too. D2 steel is going to be a different type of steel than VG10. It's got its ups and its downs. From the use that I put these knives through, I found that they retain that edge very well. So whatever manufacturer they're using there in China, wherever they're getting their steel, is pretty good quality. So again, let's talk about the work that I did with these two knives. I found an opportunity to take the two knives out and do a little bit of whittling with them. Found some relatively hard, dry wood that I could whittle away at, and decided to kind of carve it in half to start. It was one long branch, so I carved it into 2 pieces by kind of whittling away at the center of it until I was able to break that. Took that broken in half branch and turned one side into a fork and the other side into a spreader. So these would be little camp utensils. You know, you're out camping, you're backpacking, whatever, you forgot your fork, you lost your fork, you need something to eat your food with. Carve yourself up a little fork, a little spreader for getting sauce on your toast or whatever it is you got. Yeah, those are kind of things you might use your knife to create out in the field at some point. And again, this is sometimes for semi-emergencies and also just for fun. I think it's a nice little skill to know how to make these kind of utensils, particularly useful things like those. Now, I'd love to make little, I don't know, whittled animals and other little statues and things like that. I might try that stuff at some point. But for me, I'm a little more interested in practical stuff that I could actually use. And so right now what I do a lot of whittling of is spoons, forks, spreaders, knives, things like that. You know, just general things that you can actually use. We have not talked about the price on these two knives yet. The Mini comes in at about $38.99, that's at Blade HQ, and the full size about $42.99. So 39 bucks, 43 bucks. The prices are so close that just buy the one that you're most interested in. There's not a big difference between them. And once again, at that low price, you really could buy both of these. Have one for this use, one for that use, one for camping, one for EDC, and kind of have all your bases covered. As far as how these two knives look compared to other steel wheel knives, I would say that the Intrigue sort of has a sibling resemblance to the Modus knife, which I never got a hold of, never tested. But if you look at the two of them side by side, the profile on this guy and the profile on the Modus, they are quite similar, and they do definitely look like siblings. Okay, one's kind of the long tall one, the short fat one, but very similar, closely related. If you compare it to like the Cut Jack from Steel Wheel, then you're more in like a cousin relationship. or a second, third cousin kind of relationship. Not super similar looking. They both kind of have a steel wheel feel to them, but yeah, not so similar otherwise. I didn't also mention that the blade grind is flat. I'm finding information that says that it's hollow, but it is not. It's flat. It's definitely flat. I also didn't point out the jimping on the back there. So for those of you that absolutely love having somewhere for your thumb to rest and lock into, you've got that for you as well. All right, as far as other brands that you might compare some of these knives to, there's the Mini. Let's compare that to the new Kershaw Natrix, both with these sort of gray handles on them and good looking. Both aesthetically great knives. And you can see that the Natrix is a bit fatter in pocket and just a broader blade in general. Pretty similar in price, if I'm not mistaken. This one being $38 or so. The Natrix, I think, is actually not too far off from that. It's in the mid to upper 30s for this particular version, as I recall. So the big difference being this one G10 and 8CR13 MOV steel, so quality of the steel is a bit lower. G10 is nice, but I'm fine with FRN. I don't know, there are certain aesthetic qualities that the Natrix has to it that definitely win over this guy, but maybe we'll talk about that in the Natrix review when we get around to it. Now, I've been talking about the Spyderco Endura and Delica, but I didn't bring either of those with me today to actually visually compare them for you on camera. So I only have what I have, but let's show you this. Again, there's the full size, and this, the Benchmade Osborne. Okay, the Osborne 940-2, one of my all-time favorite knives there. I've got a lot of those, it seems like, but that's kind of how the two of those stack up. So you can see that the Osborne is a bit smaller, okay, S30V steel on it, G10 on the handle, and they're definitely sort of following the same trend as far as those eye-popping back spacers are concerned, which is also very, very cool. Also USA made on the Benchmade, Chinese made on the steel wheel. All right, guys, I guess the long and short of it is this. If you find these knives intriguing, see what I did there? I would say go ahead and pick them up. At this price, you can't hardly go wrong. The materials are great, construction's great, the aesthetics are terrific as well. Steel wheel Intrigue, I give it a thumbs up. I'm Late Boy Scout, thanks for watching.